You cannot see it. But you can hear it. That low rumble. Not a growl, not yet. Just breathing. Somewhere in the darkness, a few feet from where you are sleeping. No walls. No door. No lock. Just you. The ground. And whatever is making that sound. This was not a nightmare. This was Tuesday night, for hundreds of thousands of years. And somehow, the people who lived through those nights are the reason you exist right now. This is the story of how they did it. And it is nothing like what you think. Here is something that almost nobody talks about. Ancient humans were not impressive. Not at first. Not even a little. No claws. No venom. No armor. No speed. Just a soft, slow, upright animal wandering through a world that had spent millions of years perfecting the art of killing things exactly like them. And yet, 8 billion of us woke up this morning. How? The answer is not one thing. It never is with humans. It was a chain. One discovery leading to another. One generation handing something invisible to the next. Until slowly, almost without anyone realizing it, the most vulnerable creature on the savannah became the most dangerous thing that ever walked the earth. Let's be honest about something first. When people imagine ancient humans facing predators, they picture something manageable. A lion. A wolf. Things we recognize. Things we have seen in documentaries. That is not the world our ancestors lived in. The predators they faced were in a different category entirely. There was a prehistoric hyena called Pachycracuta brevirostris. Most people have never heard of it. It was the size of a lion, and its jaws were strong enough to crush the thigh bone of a full-grown elephant. Not crack it. Crush it. Like snapping a dry twig, there were multiple species of saber-toothed cats. The most well-known had canine teeth up to 28 centimeters long. Longer than your entire hand. There were cave bears standing 12 feet tall when upright, weighing close to 1,000 kilograms. There were giant crocodiles that made modern Nile crocodiles look like something you could keep as a pet. And every single one of these animals was gathering at the same water sources that ancient humans needed to survive. The water hole was not just a place to drink. It was a trap. And our ancestors walked into it every single day. So how on earth did they not disappear in the first 50,000 years? The answer begins with something almost embarrassingly simple. Picture yourself as a predator. You are scanning the landscape at dusk, looking for something easy. Something alone. Something that will not fight back. You spot one human crouching near water. Perfect. Easy. Clean. Then you look again. And there are not one. There are 25. Some already screaming. Some picking up rocks. Some moving toward you. All at once. The calculation in your brain changes immediately. This is not food anymore. This is a problem. Our closest living relatives, chimpanzees, do exactly this when threatened. They do not fight one-on-one. They mob. They surround. They make so much noise and throw so many objects that even large predators turn and leave. Because large predators cannot afford to get injured. A lion with a broken leg cannot hunt. A lion that cannot hunt starves. So even the most powerful predators alive are deeply reluctant to take a risk that could end badly for them. Ancient humans understood this instinctively. Not through planning. Not through meetings or strategy sessions. Through survival. The groups that scattered when threatened did not make it. The groups that stood together and made noise, and threw things, and refused to break, those groups survived. And their children survived. And their children's children survived. Until staying together under threat was not just a behavior. It was who we were. But staying together only solves the daytime problem. The night was something else entirely. Think about what darkness actually meant before electricity existed. Not just inconvenient darkness. Not the kind where you reach for a light switch. Total darkness. The kind where you cannot see your own hand held in front of your face. And in that darkness, almost every large predator on Earth is most active. Cave hyenas. Cave lions. Leopards. All built for night hunting. Eyes designed to collect light that human eyes simply cannot detect. Ancient humans sleeping on open ground at night were not just vulnerable. They were essentially blind while everything hunting them could see perfectly. The first solution was elevation. Before fire was consistently available, ancient humans slept in trees. Just like chimpanzees do today. Every single night. Building fresh sleeping platforms in branches high enough that lions and hyenas could not reach them. And the evidence for this is actually written into the human body itself. Early human shoulder and arm bones show clear signs of regular climbing. Evolution does not maintain expensive physical traits unless those traits are being used constantly. Our ancestors were not just occasionally climbing trees. They were depending on trees to survive the night. Every night. For thousands of years. But then came the discovery that changed the entire equation. Not just for sleep. For everything, fire. You have heard that fire was important. You have heard it 1,000 times. But here is the part that nobody explains properly. It was not just about warmth. It was not just about cooking food. It was about one specific biological fact that rewrote the rules entirely. Almost every large land predator on Earth has a hardwired instinctive fear of fire. Not a learned fear. Not a preference. A deep ancient terror built into their nervous systems over millions of years by a world where fire was uncontrollable. Lightning strikes. Volcanic eruptions. Walls of flame racing across grasslands with no warning and no mercy. Predators that survived those fires were the ones with the strongest instinct to flee. And those predators passed that instinct to every generation after them. When ancient humans learned to control fire, they were not just making light. They were using that ancient terror as a wall. A wall that nothing with teeth and claws was willing to cross. Inside that circle of firelight, you could sleep. You could think. You could talk. You could plan. The night, which had been the most dangerous time in every human life, became something manageable. And fire kept giving. Smoke drove away the insects carrying diseases that killed far more humans than any lion ever did. Cooking food killed bacteria and parasites. Heat-hardened spear tips became far more lethal. Cold environments that had belonged entirely to predators became places humans could survive. Before fire, the world happened to us. After fire, we started happening to the world. But even fire could not do what came next. There is a predator you have never heard of because it has no claws. No teeth. No speed. It lives entirely inside the human skull. And it is the reason every animal on this list is gone. Pattern recognition. The human brain evolved to find patterns in absolutely everything. Broken grass means something passed here. This particular silence means something is close. The way birds scatter from a tree tells you exactly what direction a predator is approaching from. Ancient humans were reading the world the way you read a page. Constantly. Automatically. And then they did something no other animal could do. They shared what they read. Without language, every individual has to discover danger personally. A young person who has never seen a leopard has to learn about leopards through their own direct experience, which is usually very brief and very final. With language, that young person never had to learn that lesson themselves, because someone who survived the encounter came back and described it in detail. Where the leopard was, what it looked like, what sound it made before it moved, which direction it came from, what worked to drive it away. Knowledge that had cost someone enormously was now free to everyone who listened. And the next generation started already knowing what took the previous generation a lifetime to learn. Predators had teeth that got sharper over thousands of years. Humans had knowledge that grew every single time someone came home and opened their mouth. That is not a fair competition. But there was still one more thing. The thing nobody expected. Here is a biological fact that sounds like a joke, until you understand what it means. We are one of the worst sprinters in the entire animal kingdom. A house cat can outrun an Olympic sprinter over 50 meters. A lion hits 60 kilometers per hour. A spotted hyena sustains 40 for long distances. A healthy human at absolute peak athletic condition manages about 45 kilometers per hour for roughly 10 seconds before their body starts falling apart. By every measure of short-distance speed, we are embarrassing. But ask that same lion to run at a moderate pace in 30-degree heat for 4 hours. It cannot die. It will die of heat stroke long before the 4 hours are up. Because animals cool themselves by panting. And you cannot pant effectively while running at full speed. So every predator that chased ancient humans was running a clock, without knowing it. A countdown to the moment their own body temperature became lethal. We sweat from almost our entire body surface. We can cool ourselves while moving at full speed. We can keep going after everything faster than us has been forced to stop. Ancient humans did not need to outrun predators. They just needed to outlast them. And that, they could do, all day long. For 2 million years, ancient humans ran. They hid. They climbed trees. They built fires. They stayed together. They survived. But surviving is not the same as winning. And somewhere around 400,000 years ago, something changed. In Germany, archaeologists found spears. Not sharpened sticks. Actual engineered throwing spears. weighted at the front for balance, shaped for aerodynamics, designed to travel 30 meters and hit with enough force to pierce thick animal hide. Made by someone who understood physics before the word physics existed, and here is what a spear actually changes. Before the spear, to harm a predator, you had to be close enough for it to harm you back. That is a trait you almost always lose. With a spear, you can wound something from 30 meters away. You can drive it off before it ever gets close enough to touch you. You can coordinate with your group so that wherever the predator turns, another spear is coming from another direction. And large predators, intelligent as they are, learn. A lion that takes a spear does not need a second lesson to understand that these particular prey animals are not worth it. Over generations, predator populations began avoiding human groups entirely. The fear that had always moved in one direction, slowly, began to reverse. 50,000 years ago, humans left Africa and began walking into the rest of the world. Into Europe, Asia, Australia, the Americas. And everywhere they arrived, the megafauna collapsed. Saber-toothed cats. Gone. Cave lions. Gone. Short-faced bears. Gone. Giant hyenas. Giant crocodiles. Terror birds. Woolly mammoths. All of them, gone. Animals that had survived ice ages. That had survived volcanic winters. That had ruled their ecosystems for millions of years, could not survive us, not because we were faster. Not because we were stronger. Not because we had better teeth or bigger claws. But because every time nature gave us a weakness, we turned it into a question. And every time we answered that question, the answer became a weapon. The predators never understood what they were dealing with. They learned too late to be afraid the fire is still burning. You are the reason it kept going.